Hello and welcome to our bite-sized workshop on academic writing. In this video, we will look at what academic writing is and how to do it. Academic writing refers to writing produced in an academic setting such as universities, colleges, and research institutions. Academic writing aims to present and support a particular argument or viewpoint, typically based on research, data, and evidence. Primary audience for academic writing varies depending on the type. The main type of audience are those in your field. For example, if you're writing an essay as part of your course, your primary audience will be your marker, such as your lecturer. If you're writing a PhD thesis, you will likely have two external examiners. For those writing academic journal articles, your main audience will be other scholars, researchers, and academics in a particular field or discipline. It is worth noting that when writing some academic work, you may want to have an imaginary audience in mind. For example, if you're writing a business plan report, it may be designed to be read by investors or business people. These are the imaginary readers. So, how does academic writing differ from other forms of writing? On the screen are two examples of writing. Feel free to pause the video and have a read. What differences can you spot between these two? Both convey the same information, but the tone, style, and structure differ. The top sentence is more formal and structured, while the one below is informal, conversational, and casual. So if you haven't guessed, the top sentence is an excellent example of academic writing. Here is two more examples. Which one do you think falls into academic writing or informal writing? The top sentence includes a citation to support its claim, whereas the bottom sentence is based solely on the author's opinion. This should give you some insight into which one is which. The top sentence is a good example of a piece of academic writing, for it uses evidence to support the claims or arguments. Let's have a look at the types or genres of academic texts. There are many types or forms of academic writing, each with slightly different structures, purposes, and audiences. We can divide the types of academic writing into two categories: expert academic writing and student academic writing. The purpose of expert academic writing is to create and disseminate new knowledge in a field. The primary audience of this form of writing are other experts in the subject. Types of expert academic writing include journal articles. These are pieces of original research published in a scholarly journal. They are written for a specialist audience, such as other scholars and researchers in the field. These articles are peer-reviewed, meaning they have undergone a rigorous evaluation process by experts in the same field of study before publication. The peer review process helps to ensure the quality and credibility of academic research. Another form of expert academic writing are monographs. These are book-length academic works that focus on a single topic or subject. They provide a comprehensive and in-depth analysis of a particular topic. Book reviews are also a piece of expert academic work that critically evaluates another scholar's book or work. The structure, purpose, and intended audience of student academic writing differs slightly from those written by expert academics. These are produced at university to help students develop critical thinking, analytical, and communication skills. They tend to be forms of assessment at university to evaluate the students' understanding of course materials. Their primary audiences are professors, tutors, and fellow students. Types of student academic writing include essays. These are a common form of presenting ideas and arguments on a particular topic. These are often shorter pieces of writing, roughly somewhere between 1,500 to 3,000 words. Another form of student academic writing are dissertations. These are extended pieces of work that present original research on a particular topic. They can vary in length, with undergraduate dissertations up to 8,000 words and PhD theses up to 100,000. Other forms of student academic writing include reports, reflective writing pieces, and written exams. Now that we've looked at what academic writing is, we're going to move on to the next part of our workshop: how to write in an academic manner. It is important to learn and develop your skills in academic writing because course marks are often determined by your understanding and engagement of the course content and how you communicate this in your work. It is in our writing, its clarity, fluency, and coherence that we are able to evidence our ability to reproduce the relevant and accurate facts and details required in an academic assignment. There are several main features of academic writing. These include formal tone, clear and concise writing, engagement with critical analysis, use of evidence and correct citation, structured writing, and objectivity. Let's have a look at what each of these entails. The first feature of academic writing is that it has a formal tone, which is stricter in register and format than more informal pieces of writing, such as blog posts. Academic writing also frequently uses specialized vocabulary specific to the field of study. When writing a piece of academic work, you will want to ensure that your ideas are understandable, clear, and concise. Finally, you must avoid using slang or colloquial language. What we mean by this is words or phrases more frequently used in speech rather than writing. The word stuff, for example, in this sentence: people are concerned about their stuff. This is too vague. Consider rephrasing or using different words, such as people are concerned about their belongings, possessions, or personal effects. Phrases like kind of, for example, the findings were kind of significant, are too informal for a piece of academic writing. You could rephrase this to something more formal, like the findings were somewhat significant or significant to some degree. Again, avoid using words like always or never. For example, in this sentence, researchers always argue that this is too exaggerated or generalized. It would be better if this sentence went something like this: researchers frequently or commonly or typically argue. To maintain a formal tone throughout your academic writing, avoid using contractions of words such as it's, can't, he'll, they couldn't, and won't. Instead, always make sure to use the full form: it is or it has, cannot, he will, they could not, and would not. Engaging with critical analysis is also an important aspect of academic writing. This involves examining and evaluating arguments and evidence to support the claims made. You will want to think about the quality and relevance of the evidence and identify the strengths and weaknesses of an argument or claim, which helps to provide a balanced and nuanced perspective. To provide more balance and criticality for your writing, you will want to also potentially present both sides of an issue or topic and include the views of those with different opinions, including their reasoning and evidence. You will need to use objective language that avoids bias and presents the evidence fairly. Objectivity is another important aspect of academic writing. The author must remain neutral and objective, avoiding personal biases, preconceptions, opinions, and emotionally charged language. Instead of including personal opinion, you should use factual evidence, such as statistics and data, to support arguments and claims. It would help if you also got in the habit of using multiple sources to support arguments and claims. This ensures that the presentation of information is balanced and objective. Another key feature of academic writing is using evidence and correct citations, which helps to support arguments and claims with factual information. Credible sources may include peer-reviewed journal articles and books published by reputable publishers. You must include accurate citations and references to give credit to the sources used. These references must be formatted correctly, following the academic citation style prescribed by the department. For additional help with referencing, check out our referencing style guide at subjectguides.york.ac.uk/referencing style guides. Now that we've gone through some of the main features of academic writing, let's have a look at some good and bad examples. Here is our first example. Pause the video and have a read through the text. What are your main thoughts about what needs improving in order for it to fit an academic writing style, and why these changes need to be made? So, what did you come up with? Hopefully you came to some similar conclusions as we did. The first sentence, how to make people work harder, uses imprecise vocabulary and could be rephrased to simply be motivation. The use of lots of and the last few years are vague phrases which should be avoided. You should also avoid using terms such as etc. and so on. Phrases such as I think and when we think about this are too personal. Consider rephrasing to one may believe. Other phrases such as are okay are too informal, as well as I'll just talk about a couple, which is personal and informal. Proverbs or similar expressions such as the old Chinese proverb should be avoided in your academic writing. When writing essays, try to avoid rhetorical questions. So, how do we increase production? Instead, you may want to use statements such as, there are many ways in which one can increase motivation in the work setting. Lastly, do not use contractions or slang, such as it's quite or the aisle. Let's move on to another example. Feel free to pause the video and have a read. This paragraph on the screen is a good example of successful academic writing style for several reasons. Firstly, it introduces the topic of the essay and places it in a broader context by acknowledging the previous research on the subject. It clearly states the focus of the essay by bringing in different scholars' theories. It provides a rationale for why these theories are relevant to the need to motivate employees effectively, which helps to make the essay's purpose clear. It concludes by explaining the importance of effective employee motivation for a firm's survival in the current economic climate, indicating the wider implications of the topic being explored. Overall, this example demonstrates an appropriate level of formality and structure. The language used is clear and concise, making it a good example of academic writing style. Now that we know how to write in an engaging, critical, and clear academic style, let's look at how you can go about structuring your work. Structure is an essential feature of university academic writing because it provides a framework that helps to organize and communicate ideas clearly and effectively. A well-structured piece of work presents information in a logical sequence, making it easier for the reader to understand the arguments being made. There are many different ways of structuring your work, but the majority of academic writing follows a standard structure which features an introduction, main body, and a conclusion. In the introduction, you will provide any necessary background information about the topic of the essay. You may also want to identify the key points, controversies, or angles that you're going to cover without going into too much detail at this stage. If you're using any specialized terms, the introduction is a good place to define these. Towards the end of the introduction, you will want to provide a thesis statement. This is a sentence that tells the main idea or point of the whole essay. Following this, you may want to include a brief outline of the general structure of the essay and how you will examine or explore your thesis statement. Remember, throughout the introduction, you want to write clearly and catch the reader's interest. Don't forget to keep in mind that the length of an introduction should be about 10% of the total word count. So if you're writing a 2,500 word essay, it should be roughly 250 words. Here is an example of a good introduction. Again, feel free to pause the video and have a read. In this example, the topic is introduced clearly and succinctly with several sentences providing background information about the issue of climate change and its impact on freshwater resources. The thesis statement is also clearly stated, indicating the main argument of the essay and what it will aim to demonstrate. This introduction sets up the rest of the essay, providing a clear direction for the reader to follow and highlighting the importance of the topic being discussed. The introduction will then be followed by the main body of an essay. This is where you present the main arguments, evidence, and ideas related to the topic. It will be made up and organized into several paragraphs, each of which will focus on a specific part or individual argument and support the thesis statement. The main body of an academic essay is where the majority of the word count is allocated, between 75 and 85%. Let's have a look at what each paragraph might include. For example, your main body of the essay may be divided into 3 main paragraphs. Paragraph 1 tends to cover the first issue your introduction said you would address. The first sentence, the topic sentence, should state the topic of the paragraph and have a guiding idea for how that topic will be developed. The other sentences support and develop the topic sentence in a logical way, which will include relevant examples, details, evidence, quotations, and references. At the end of each paragraph, you may want to include a concluding sentence with a summary of the main point's final comment. This will then lead up to the next paragraph. In the second paragraph, the following paragraphs, the first sentence, the topic sentence will link this paragraph to previous paragraphs. It will then introduce the main idea of the paragraph. This follows a similar structure to the first paragraph, with the inclusion of supporting arguments and concluding sentence. How you structure the main body of your academic work will depend on the question you are answering. There are many different ways of structuring your work, so make sure you use one that best fits what you are working on. In this next part of the workshop, we'll have a look at some example structures. A common form of essay structure is the chronological structure. When writing an academic essay in a chronological structure, you'll be presenting events or ideas in the order they occurred or were developed over time. This type of structure is particularly useful when discussing historical events, literary works, or scientific discoveries, among other topics. The chronological structure approach would be good for answering questions such as, have attitudes to crime and punishment changed since the 19th century? What were the key scientific discoveries that led to the development of modern medicine? What were the major events leading up to the American Civil War? Another way of structuring your essay is using the arguing for and against structure. In an arguing for and against essay, at the beginning, you will declare your position and present both sides of an argument. This type of essay structure is particularly useful when you're asked to evaluate a complex issue, as it allows you to consider multiple perspectives before taking a position. The structure of an arguing for and against essay typically consists of a series of paragraphs arguing for, which are then followed by those arguing against. In both sections, you will present the arguments for one side of the argument. You will need to use evidence and examples to support your points and demonstrate why this perspective is valid. Another useful essay structure follows the form of a discussion, where the writer will only reveal their position on the topic at the end. To do this, you can use the block pattern structure. This is a straightforward approach that is particularly useful for short essays or those with a narrow focus. This structure involves dividing the essay into blocks or sections, with each section focusing on a particular aspect of the topic. Each block contains detailed information or arguments to support the topic sentence or thesis statement. Here is a block pattern example for comparing the academic writing standards to professional writing. Finally, another way of structuring an essay is to use the alternating point-by-point structure. This is when you arrange the paragraphs according to the main points, rather than by topics or for or against. This way, in each paragraph, you can focus on how the different arguments compare with one another with regards to a specific point. Each paragraph includes discussions of both topics as they relate to each of your points. For example, if we were using a point-by-point method to compare and contrast academic writing and professional writing, you might talk about similarities and differences regarding their paragraph structure in one paragraph, differences in their point of view in another, and another paragraph devoted to comparing their tone. Another important element to academic writing are the smooth transitions between different ideas and paragraphs. The transitions between paragraphs will show the connections between ideas and how each paragraph is related to another. This is essential to ensuring that your argument flows. On the screen are just a few examples you might consider using when transitioning between different paragraphs and points. Remember that the main body of an academic essay is where you demonstrate your understanding of the topic and your ability to analyze and synthesize information. It is important to ensure that the main body is well structured and coherent, with each paragraph logically connected to the previous one and building towards your overall argument. In the conclusion, you will summarize your overall argument and the main reasons that support it. Do not present any new material in the conclusion, but clarify why your conclusions are significant. Similar to the introduction, the conclusion should be roughly 1/10 of your essay word count. Throughout this bite-sized workshop, we have explored the different features of academic writing and how to implement them in your own work. Remember, it can take time to develop a formal academic style, and writing is a process. Don't get too frustrated if you require drafts of works and editing. It is all part of the process. Here at the University of York, we have lots of online and in-person workshops, many of which are focused on the art of academic writing. You can find more information about these at subjectguides.york.ac.uk/skills/training. We also have loads more advice on our academic writing guide, subjectguides.york.ac.uk/academic-writing.